Welcome to the Crawlcast. I'm your host, George Krawczak, and these are my predictions for Week 13 of the NFL season. And if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Now let's get started. The first game is the Green Bay Packers, who are 7-3-1, versus the Detroit Lions, who are 7-4. And I think the Packers are going to win. So you have the Green Bay Packers versus the Detroit Lions. This game is super important for the division. It's not sorry, I'm still a little sick, but it's not important in terms of like tiebreakers or anything like that because I can almost guarantee you the Lions and Bears are not going to get a tie. So, you don't have to worry about divisional tiebreakers, but this game matters to the point where both the Packers and the Lions are trying to win the NFC North. I think the Bears are a little bit like frauds, and they're probably not going to win the North because even though they have a better record, I don't think anyone can really argue that the Bears are better than the Packers or the Lions. So looking at these two teams, comparing the offenses, I'd say Detroit's offense is slightly better, but they've been struggling recently. Hold on, sorry about that. They've been struggling recently, and it feels like only Jahmyr Gibbs has done anything of note on the Lions' offense. Goff has struggled. Amon-Ra St. Brown has struggled a bit. And so overall, just Detroit's offense is not playing that great. And then in terms of defense, Detroit's defense is okay. It's nothing really that special, but Green Bay's defense is absolutely elite. Like I can kind of see something similar to happen in Week 1 where Green Bay's defense shuts down Detroit's offense, and as long as Green Bay's offense can play moderately well, Green Bay should win this one. That's why I'm picking the Packers. The only way the Lions can win, I feel like, is if Jahmyr Gibbs has another amazing game. And there's certainly a possibility that the Packers can have lots of missed tackles and stuff like that, but I just think it's more unlikely, or I think it's more likely that the Packers win than the Lions do. The next game is the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 6-5, versus the Dallas Cowboys, who are 5-1, and I think the Chiefs are going to win. So you have the Chiefs versus the Cowboys. Both these teams trying to make it to the playoffs. I think the Cowboys are already basically eliminated because the NFC is so tough right now. There's so many good teams that it's almost impossible for the Cowboys to make the playoffs. But the Chiefs, since the AFC is not very good, it's wide open. They still have a shot. I am picking the Chiefs just because it's hard for me to bet against the Chiefs because the Chiefs, I struggle to believe that they're going to miss the playoffs and they're going to have a horrible record. Maybe that's just bias, I don't know, but I struggle to believe that. But right now, the Chiefs' defense has been playing really, really excellent. And then the Cowboys, their offense has been playing great. Their defense has been moderately better. They weren't very good in the first half against the Eagles last week, but they played but they played really well in the second half. And then, the Chiefs' offense, it's struggled. Patrick Mahomes has not been playing that great. They have zero run game. So, I think the Chiefs are slightly better when you can take into account the Cowboys' defensive woes, but I am picking the Chiefs because they need to win this one more than the Cowboys. Because, like I said, I really don't see a pathway for the playoffs for the Cowboys. The next game is the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 3-8, versus the Baltimore Ravens, who are 6-5, and I think the Ravens are going to win. So you have the Bengals versus the Ravens. This is going to be a very interesting one. It's being rumored that Joe Burrow might be able to come back during this one. And quite frankly, that could change everything because the Ravens' defense is very good and has been playing very, very well recently. But if you have Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase, that could potentially help if the Bengals score a lot of points, that could potentially be really good for them and win them the game. And then the Ravens' offense, like, even though they've been winning, Lamar Jackson and their offense has not looked very good. They've been struggling at times, and they've really been carried by their defense. But this Bengals defense is so unbelievably terrible that even if the Ravens offense struggling, I just can't believe the Bengals defense is going to help them to victory. So the only way I can see it is if this offense, if Joe Burrow comes back, when Ja'Marr Chase comes back, if they play so unbelievably well that the Ravens just can't keep up. But I find that hard to believe. The Ravens defense is very solid. I think there's a good shot they can shut down Joe Burrow if he's back, or Joe Flacco if he's playing. And then this Ravens offense just needs to play better, and they probably will because it's against a terrible Bengals defense. The next game is the Chicago Bears, who are 8-3, versus the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 8-3, and I think the Eagles are going to win. So you have the Bears versus the Eagles. Both these teams feel like they're on very similar trajectory throughout the season. Like they both kind of keep barely winning games they probably shouldn't be winning. And it's tough. Like I am picking the Eagles because I think they are a better team. This Bears defense, even though they do get a decent amount of turnovers, I just don't think they're that good and they haven't really faced a lot of great competition. And then this Eagles offense has been very, very inconsistent and has struggled quite a lot at sometimes. I I think this Eagles defense has been very elite for the most part, and I just think there's a high likelihood that's going to shut down Caleb Williams in this Bears offense. And then I just don't trust the Bears defense to stand up to Jalen Hurts. Maybe they can. Like this one, like I said, I keep going back and forth because even though both these teams have very good records, they just don't feel like very good teams. And it kind of reminds me of the Chiefs last year, where like they're 11-0 and 0 in one-score games, and I can't remember the Eagles record, but I think the Bears are like 6-0 or 7-0 in one-score games. And with one score games, they feel like obviously they count as wins if you win the game, but with one score games, it really feels like those are games that can go either way and both teams have an equal shot at winning those. So it's not as impressive of a win. But overall, I think the Eagles are a better team and I think the Eagles are going to get the win. The next game is the New Orleans Saints, who are 2-9, versus the Miami Dolphins, who are 4-7, and I think the Dolphins are going to win. So you have the Saints versus the Dolphins. I am picking the Dolphins because it feels like this win simply means more. Like Mike McDaniel's trying to save his job, and I don't know if it's possible for him to do so, but he's at least obviously trying to save his job. And then you have Tua, who's trying to play well and save his job. And so overall, the Miami Dolphins are just like this. Just feels like they need to win this one more than the Saints. And then the Saints, like Tyler Shuck hasn't overall played that bad, although last week he did not play that well. And then their defense completely kind of crapped the bed last week and played absolutely horrible. And I just don't think their defense is very good. And this Miami Dolphins team has really turned it around, even though I don't think they're a great team. They've really started to kind of, I don't want to say feel the magic, but like just turn it around, start playing better, and feel the pressure of everyone's fighting for their jobs, everyone's fighting for their future, so they need to win. Like overall, this is a meaningless game because any of these teams are playoff teams, but I think the Dolphins are going to win because the Dolphins need to win this one. The next game is the Houston Texans, who are 6-5, versus the Indianapolis Colts, who are 8-3, and I think the Colts are going to win. So you have the Texans and the Colts. Both this game I kept going really back and forth on who I think is going to win because the Texans have an elite defense. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL, but their offense keeps laying them down. Like Davis Mills, I think I'd say I don't know if Davis Mills or CJ Stroud's going to start. It's unclear. I think Davis Mills is playing slightly better than CJ Stroud, but also both are playing about the same, which is not very good. And then the Colts. Their offense has been struggling quite a lot the past few weeks. Daniel Jones is not playing good, and it seems like if Jonathan Taylor can get shut down, they win the game. But on the bright side, the Colts defense has been playing much better. So I think this Colts defense can shut down this Texans offense, regardless if it's CJ Stroud or Davis Mills. And then I think the Colts offense kind of has something to prove and will kind of bounce back against this defense. I think Jonathan Taylor will have an excellent game, and I just think there's a more likelihood of the Colts winning than the Texans because I think the Colts are a more well-rounded team, whereas the Texans have a great, great defense, but their offense is just absolutely terrible. So I'm picking the Colts to win. The next game is the Atlanta Falcons, who are 4-7, versus the New York Jets, who are 2-9, and I think the Jets are going to win. So this is my upset of the week, as I think the Jets will beat the Falcons. So if you look at the Jets' past couple of games, their defense has played remarkably well, especially considering that they lost their two best players in Quinton Williams and Sauce Gardner. It's just that their offense is just insanely incompetent. Like, Tyrod Taylor does look better than Justin Fields, but also that is really not saying much because Justin Fields might be the worst quarterback in the NFL. But overall, just this Jets team has been kind of looking up and being feisty and playing well. And then this Falcons team, Kirk Cousins, he's been a bit below average. Their defense really showed up last week and played extremely well, but it was against the Saints, who aren't necessarily that great. But overall, Kirk Cousins has been extremely disappointing. I thought he would have sorry, I thought he would have been one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, but he really hasn't. This offense is completely run through Bijan, and if they can stop Bijan, they can win. But I just have a gut feeling that I think the Jets will win this one. I think the Falcons are not a good team, but and this also makes sense for the Falcons, where if you look at like their wins, it's like they beat all the best teams, and then if you look at their losses, they lose to all the worst teams. So just kind of add this to the pile where it's like another horrible team that they lose to. The next game is the San Francisco 49ers, who are 8-4, versus the Cleveland Browns, who are 3-8, and I think the 49ers are going to win. So you have the 49ers versus the Browns. So first off, this is interesting. This is Shadir's first like real game, it feels like. Like last week he played fine. He had basically one great throw, one terrible throw, and he was kind of below average. And it was against a horrible Raiders defense. Whereas I understand the 49ers defense. Basically everyone's injured. Nick Bosa's out, Fred Warner's out, but they have been largely playing pretty well even with all the injuries. It's Brock Purdy. Can this 49ers offense function against this elite, amazing Browns defense? And I think they can because they rely a lot on the quick passing game. This offense feels like it's run through Christian McCaffrey. And when you have the quick passing game, Myles Garrett probably can't sack you as well. So I think the 49ers are a better team. But I can realistically see a world that this Browns defense is really, really good. I can see a world where it's like the Packers game where the defense completely shuts down the 49ers offense, and then Shadir just needs to barely play well enough to get them the win. And we'll see, because like I said, this is his first real test, and I would say comparing Shadir Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, I'd say they're probably about equal at the moment, where granted, Shadir's only had one game, but again, it was against the terrible Raiders. Like, neither of them have had that amazing performance where, like, oh, this is showing us why they can be a franchise quarterback. And then neither Dylan or Sanders, or Shadir, have had an absolutely terrible game where you're like, oh, this is why they can't play. So, I don't know. We'll see how Shadir finally does. And maybe he'll get the win, maybe not, but I'm very curious how this 49ers offense responds to a terrible game against the Panthers and now against a really good Browns defense. The next game is the Los Angeles Rams, who are 9-2, versus the Carolina Panthers, who are 6-6, and I think the Rams are going to win. This one should be pretty easy. Like, I think there's a good shot that this is a blowout because the Rams, I think, are the best team in the NFL. Right now, Matthew Stafford is the definitive NFL MVP. Their offense has been on fire with Devontae Adams catching a million touchdowns on the 1-yard line and Puka Nacua playing great. And then their defense has been playing really, really spectacular as well. And then Bryce Young, he had that one great game 2 weeks ago, and then he got back to normal. He's only throwing like 100 yards a game. And if Rico Dowdle can't carry the team, then it's over. And I think this Rams defense will shut down Rico Dowdle. I think the Rams are going to blow out the Panthers. That's my big prediction. And like I said, I think right now the Rams are the best team in football. Like you need to have an elite defense to stop them. And the other elite defenses, when I look at them, it's like you got the Packers, who their offense is a little inconsistent, but maybe the Packers' elite defense can stop them. You have the Browns, who are missing the playoffs. You have the Texans, who are probably missing the playoffs. And then, and those are both obviously AFC teams. And then the NFC, maybe the Eagles, but their offense is also very inconsistent. But right now, it's tough to have a defense that really matches up against this amazing Rams team. And I just think the Rams are the best team in the NFL, and it's going to be interesting come playoff time. Like, realistically, like I said, you need a strong defense to stop Matthew Stafford. And I think right now in the NFC, it really feels like only the Packers have that. The next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 7-4, versus the Tennessee Titans, who are 1-10, and I think the Titans are going to win. This is my other upset of the week, is I think the Titans are going to win. I've always said this, the Panthers and the Jaguars feel like the biggest frauds to me, because like the Bears. They win games they probably shouldn't, but at least you can say they're a decent team. Whereas this Jaguars team, I think their defense is above average, and then Trevor Lawrence I just don't think is it. He really feels like Jameis Winston if Jameis Winston's defense could help bail him out even more. I just don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. And then this Titans team, their defense has been playing better and better. Cam Ward has been playing better and better. And they just keep barely losing. And I think one of these times they're going to get one. They're finally going to get another win. They keep getting so close. And you can see Cam Ward building the confidence. and this defense playing better, and I think they're finally going to pull it off, and I think it's going to be against the Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence will probably throw a couple interceptions, and that'll cost them the game. Trevor Lawrence just needs to play better, plain and simple, and I don't know if he can do it. Quite frankly, I don't think he can do it. So I am picking the Titans. I think this will be a major, major upset, and I think the Titans are going to win. The next game is the Arizona Cardinals, who are 3-8, versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 6-5, and I think the Cardinals are going to win. So you have the Cardinals versus the Buccaneers, and the big news is Teddy Bridgewater is starting for the Buccaneers. And to be honest, that's why I'm picking the Cardinals. Number one, the Cardinals have been playing fairly decent. They've been losing a lot of really close games, and it kind of feels like the Titans are like they're finally going to get one. And then Teddy Bridgewater, when he came in, he just played absolutely terrible. And it feels like this Buccaneers team, for sure the Buccaneers offense, but I'd say largely this Buccaneers team is built on the back of Baker Mayfield playing well and kind of putting on his Superman cape and dominating. And I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater can do that. Teddy Bridgewater has never really been that great. And now that he's older and it's been basically a couple of years since he's played an actual game, or since he started an actual game, I don't believe in Teddy Bridgewater at all whatsoever. I just don't believe the Buccaneers can win this. Like, maybe their defense can stop Jacoby Brissett, but I think the Cardinals are going to win this, and who knows when Baker Mayfield will be back, but Tampa Bay is going to be struggling quite a bit without him. The next game is the Minnesota Vikings, who are 4-7, versus the Seattle Seahawks, who are 8-3, and I think the Seahawks are going to win. So you have the Vikings versus the Seahawks. I do have to say, Sam Darnold has not been playing his best football recently. Granted, he was playing excellent football earlier in the season, so it's kind of like dipped a little bit, but it's hard to manage those expectations. And then the Vikings, Seattle's offense has largely been very, very good. And then their defense has also been pretty good. And then the Vikings, their defense, I think, can be one of the top defenses in the NFL. They've been in almost every single game J.J. McCarthy has played, and that's very impressive when you look at how J.J. McCarthy's been playing. J.J. McCarthy is probably the worst quarterback in the NFL. He is just not good. He's played absolutely terrible. I see people saying, oh, they should give up on him, or they should sign Daniel Jones in the offseason or something like that. I think that's a bad idea, because keep in mind, this is only his first season starting, so I think it would be a mistake to give up on J.J. McCarthy this early. But also, it's a bit tough, because normally when you have, first-round pick quarterbacks, you can say, oh, look, they don't have the weapons, or they don't have the offensive line, or this is an issue, or that's an issue. But with J.J. McCarthy, Aaron Jones, good running back, top offensive line. Actually, I don't think it's great, but I'd say middling to top offensive line. Elite weapons with T.J. Hockenson, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison. An amazing defense. So, I can't really say how much I would improve to help J.J. McCarthy, because he kind of already has the help there. And that's the problem, is, the Vikings feel like they're just a quarterback away from being a playoff contending team and being a good team, and J.J. McCarthy can't do it. But again, just because he's a first round pick, I'd be like, you can't give up on him after one season, right? Because he has shown a little bit of flashes, but not that many. And I just think J.J. McCarthy will probably continue to struggle, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. But overall, I think the Seahawks should win this one, because their defense is fairly decent enough where it could cause J.J. McCarthy a lot of problems. The next game is the Buffalo Bills, who are 7-4, versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 6-5, and I think the Steelers are going to win. So you have the Bills versus the Steelers. This is my other upset of the week, but granted, I want to caveat this a little bit. It's kind of depending on if Aaron Rodgers plays, and I think he will play, because Mason Rudolph is not that good. He did not play well and did not look good at all. But overall, the Steelers' defense has been improving and largely playing pretty well, and they barely lost to the Bears, again, with Mason Rudolph kind of playing terrible. And then Josh Allen, he kind of keeps making one bad mistake a game, whether it's a fumble or an interception or something like that. And he's also missing his top, not missing, but he just doesn't have a top receiver. I understand they signed Brandon Cooks, but I'm not sure how much of a difference Brandon Cooks would make. They also benched Keon Coleman, and what I talked about with J.J. McCarthy, I get it. Keon Coleman has not played good, but you can't tell me Gabe Davis is better than Keon Coleman. The Bills literally have nobody at receiver, so just keep putting Cam Coleman out there and give him a shot, and maybe he'll turn it around and show the potential he showed in college. I just think that's a mistake benching him and giving up on him this early in his career. So that's why I predict is this Steelers defense, whether it's TJ Watt or Jalen Ramsey, is there's going to be one key fumble, one key interception that Josh Allen's going to make, and I think Rodgers will lead the Steelers team to victory because they probably should have won last week. And I guarantee if Rodgers was playing, I think they would have won. But I just think the Steelers are going to win, and it's going to lead to more issues for the Bills because they're trying to win the division, which is increasingly getting out of hand. And I think they will be a playoff team, but playoffs, anything can happen. And and this also means more for the Steelers because right now they're tied with the Ravens. Realistically, I think there's 2 games against the Ravens left for the Steelers, and I think whoever wins those 2 games is going to win the division out of the Ravens and Steelers. So overall, just this is going to be an exciting game, and I think the Steelers are going to win because I think their defense is a little bit better. The next game is the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 2-9, versus the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 7-4, and I think the Chargers are going to win. So you have the Raiders versus the Chargers, and this one's pretty easy because honestly, the Raiders are just a complete dumpster fire. Their offense is terrible, their defense is terrible, just everything is terrible. This Chargers defense has been playing pretty well recently, and then it is kind of Herbert that's struggling, but also it's because his whole offensive line is injured. But then on the flip side, the Raiders defense is so bad, I don't think it matters if the entire Chargers offensive line is injured. I think Herbert should be able to overcome that. Armarian Hampton is coming back, and just overall, this one, the Chargers need to win this one. They should win this one. The Raiders are terrible, and that's kind of it, plain and simple. The Raiders are so bad, the Chargers need to win. The next game is the Denver Broncos, who are 9-2, versus the Washington Commanders, who are 3-8, and I think the Broncos are going to win. So kind of exactly what I said about the Chargers Raiders should apply to the Broncos Commanders is this Washington Commanders team is terrible. They're a complete dumpster fire. Offense isn't good, defense isn't good. And even though Bo Nix is kind of struggling and not playing that great, this Broncos defense is elite and they should have no problem beating the Commanders. They really should dominate them because this Commanders team is just terrible. No excuses. They're just terrible. So the Broncos need to get this one. It's an easy win and they should win. The final game of the week is the New York Giants, who are 2-10, versus the New England Patriots, who are 10-2, and I think the Patriots are going to win. So this is kind of an interesting one because Jameis Winston and the Giants did play extremely well last week against the Lions, but I just think the Patriots should win this one. Drake May's playing really well, even though he's kind of going on the Josh Allen run where he makes one really bad mistake a game. The Patriots defense, although has been struggling the past couple of weeks, is largely pretty good. And then the Giants, like I said, their defense is fine. And then Jameis Winston, he's just too volatile. He has too many bad plays that negate the good ones. And I thought about saying this as a funny upset of the week because it feels like the Giants always have the Patriots number, but I just can't do it. The Patriots should win this one. They're a better team and they're fighting for the 1 seed, so they need to win this one. So those are my predictions for week 13 of the NFL season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Hopefully I'll start feeling better and do better in these videos because, like I said, I'm kind of sick right now. But like I said, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money, and I'll see you on the next one.